So the first thing we're going to look at before we even talk about the mechanics of play is getting that initial interest in the toy. So you might be saying to yourself, oh, do you know what, my dog, he's just not interested in toys at all. Now, it's all about the presentation. If the toy is not interested, why would he be interested in it? So when you're presenting this new toy to your dog for the first time, I want you to hold it up to your chest and make it really nice and precious. I want you to clutch it in your hands like you desperately don't want the dog to have it. It's just like reverse psychology. Because you don't want them to have it, they are going to want it more than anything. At that point, you're going to lower the toy down onto the floor and do a little pretend drop and see if the dog can dive in and grab it. But make that toy precious. If you dangle it in front of his face, it is the most boring thing you could present. So let's just dissect the 4 different parts of play that we feel are the most important for you to get the best out of your dog. Now, the first part is just to create that desire. So we call these misses. What we're doing is presenting the toy to the dog, creating that desire to come and get it, and then whipping it away right at the last minute to create that miss so the dog feels they have to really work for the toy. Don't forget, this toy needs to act like prey. So if you get a new toy and you just dangle it in your dog's face and say, what's this, mate? It's a great new toy. They're going to think, well, do you know what? That's too easy for me, or I'm not interested in it. So the first part is about creating that desire. Now, those misses, you need to practice this, ideally first without the dog, so that you can really build your mechanical skills in moving that toy away from the dog. So let's look at that from another perspective. What we're doing here to make sure the dog doesn't get too on top of us is we're moving a lot ourselves. We're presenting that toy out to the side so the dog doesn't crash into us, and then jumping out the way and repositioning ourselves so the dog can run past, run through that toy and turn around as fast as possible to get ready for the next miss. I find an easy way of kind of remembering what you're supposed to be doing with your feet and your hands at this point is to imagine that you're walking down a marked line on the floor. So you've got a straight line and you're moving up and down that straight line, presenting the toy, making sure that that's done out to the side every time so you don't get hit by the dog. Now, what we're looking at next is the actual tug. So what happens when the dog does grab that toy? So that's the part that we need to be really careful about. Now, depending on the experience of the dog will depend on how we play with the dog. This dog in the video is quite experienced, so we're playing a good vigorous game of tug with her. But don't forget, this is not about you beating the dog in the game. This is about you empowering the dog and making them feel as strong as possible. So if you've got a dog that's relatively new to tug, or they're not particularly strong, or this is a new game for you, then what we suggest is playing tug just with one finger, like you can see Adrian doing here. That's the amount of strength and enthusiasm you should be putting into that game, is just one finger tug. Overpowering the dog at this stage is going to make the game too difficult and therefore undesirable for the dog. So there we go, a nice little bit of tug play. Making sure that the toy remains taut the whole time we're playing the game. And then once we've had a little game of tug, we're letting the dog win the toy. So we're releasing it from our hands, letting the dog have it. They're parading around, and then we're immediately encouraging them to come back into us again. That parade is really important for the dog. That's the part that they're looking forward to. They've fought and fought and fought for that toy, and now they've won it and it's theirs, and we need to celebrate that. The final most important point is have fun.